some links there, Dominica, in the chat. They only went to you. If you could copy and put those over in the chat for me.
Yes.
I am Julia Renfro. I do work for ACPE right up here. And we have a brand new version of AKCIS, AKCIS 360. AKCIS stands for the Alaska Career Information System. It is sponsored by ACPE right up here above. And it's for every person in the state of Alaska. So my very, very small niche of people that I work with in the state of Alaska is 3rd grade through retirement. So I've got just a couple people in the state that I get to talk to, almost everybody. In AKCIS, the reason why we're using AKCIS is to create personal learning and career plans. And you can see that there at the bottom of the slide, we call that PLCPs. So if I say that later, PLCPs, that is what we call it in Alaska. Other states have different names for them. So if you're trying to look up like how to compare what we're doing in Alaska to another state, you might find ECAP or ICAP or PLP. You might even find ILP for individualized learning plan. But that gets a little confusing with the academic version of an ILP. So in Alaska, we call it a personal learning and career plan. This PLCP idea was introduced in 2010 in the Alaska State CTE plan, and the university system, the Department of Education and Early Development, and the Department of Labor and Workforce Development came together and they said, how are we going to grow Alaska's workforce? And they came up with 6 strategies. And strategy number 1 said that every student in the state of Alaska should have a personal learning and career plan. That's great. We kept working, we were moving along. And then in 2018, that same group came together and they said, are these still the strategies that we're looking at? Is this still what we mean? And they affirmed, yes, those are the 6 strategies we want to have, with the first one being every student should have a personal learning and career plan. And they then took about writing more detail. The first plan was very succinct. They went into giving us some more ideas of how we can make those things happen. Writing PLCPs in for every grade level and as all the way into adulthood. And then also giving us a list of roles and responsibilities towards personal learning and career plans, from policymakers to business and industry to site administrators like principals and such, to educators and counselors, to families, to students. And so I do encourage you to look at that 2018 CTE plan addendum. But that's how we carry through in AKCIS. And we're always answering 3 questions. Who am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there? Now, CIS comes to us, the Career Information System, from the University of Oregon, from their School of Education and their Department of Counseling. And it's over 50 years old. There are over 2 million users annually across the nation in over 30 states. And so some of our states, like Alaska, use CIS in its entirety. And then there are a few states that use some components of CIS. But we bring it in, we put the AK in front of it. So while we have the national information, we're going to give special attention to what's happening to Alaska first. So in Alaska, we do offer single sign-on. We've got that in 2 different ways. We see that logging on seems to be a barrier for some. Remember, usernames and passwords. Don't get me started on all the usernames and passwords that people have for all kinds of things. But we said, okay, fine, we're going to take that barrier out of the equation. And so for our public school students, some schools are using Clever for single sign-on. Some use ClassLink, and that's newer to us. We've had ClassLink about a month and a half. It's working fabulously. So it just depends on the school district as to which one they would want to have. But that student creates that personal learning and career plan. It's going to move on through with them. You'll see that in just a moment. Last year, we had over 90,000 logins with 1.8 million page views. This school year alone, I was just looking at the numbers, and we have had over 10,000 logins. So we are just moving right along, gangbusters. More and more school districts are using it systemically. Last school year, we did have 48 active school districts out of 54. This year, we do have 53 school districts, and some of those school districts that were inactive last year have already renewed for this year. We're in the middle of the renewal season right now. I do ask for annual renewals because we do have a lot of turnover in the state of Alaska, and I want to make sure I'm always getting the information to the right people. So in those school districts, everybody uses it to a different extent. Every school does, every classroom teacher, every course does. But we're finding more and more systemic use where it's just across the board plan for schools and districts. But also we have post-secondary institutions, we have Native and community organizations, we've got the Alaska Job Centers across the state, lots of different organizations using AKCIS. AKCIS is the tool in Alaska that we use to create personal learning and career plans. So you can see across the bottom of this slide that we do start out with junior, and that junior version is typically 8th grade and younger. So we can have assignments where students are perhaps exploring the kinds of careers they're interested in, and maybe they're making a collage or a mobile or something like that. Maybe they're using that to write their essays in their language arts classes. In the past, before I came into this position, we saw this kind of work being housed in the counseling office or being housed in the CTE office. But really, everything that we do for a student or with a student is preparing them for their future. And this is also preparing them for their future. So this should be across the board in core classes. This can be when we're discussing something with a recent graduate. This can be what we're using when we're talking to job seekers and those kinds of things all across the board. For even younger students, maybe they read a book and there was a particular job mentioned in that book. And so the teacher for those younger students could pull up that career and they could discuss what's that lifestyle look like for that student, what did they have to learn to be ready to do that job? When you have those students who are like, why do I have to learn to do math or write all the time, whatever it might be. So it gives the teacher a little bit more leg up when the students find those interesting careers. That's going to grow up from junior into our high school version, up into then our post-secondary education version, which we can have at the universities, but also in our career and technical colleges and facilities. And then that's going to also go up into adult workforce. We can go straight from high school up to adult workforce, but we do work for the Alaska Commission on Post-Secondary Education, and we would be remiss if we left out that post-secondary site type. So here is a look at the versions, junior, high school, post-secondary, and adult. And so we do change up some of the links, some of the specific self-surveys, like the pages that we're on right now are self-survey pages to account for appropriate age groups, but also, the pictures and that kind of thing, so that it's relevant to the person who's using it. But when we take that a little bit further, we're going to take that into our career plans as well. Now, there's two different ways to log into AKCIS. One is as a user, and so that top left-hand picture is a picture of what it looks like now in AKCIS 360. We bring those career plans right to the front and center, so it's the very first thing somebody sees. In the past, we had checklists, and they were the easiest way for a new user to navigate in AKCIS, but they were still like 5 clicks away. So when the state directors like myself got together, we said, no, we need to have this be the very first thing that they can see when they log in. The activities in those career plans are always answering the questions, who am I, where am I going, and how do I get there? And then you might be thinking, because you're attending a session like this, how do I see what my users have been working on? So in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a site administration view. And so there are different levels of site accounts. I have the state operator level. Then there are district level accounts. So we have people managing for their school districts or for grants for multiple school districts or multiple entities. And I can adjust permissions on that to see what kind of information they can have. And then we come down to site administrators, and I ask for 2 site administrators for every location so that I can make sure that I've always got someone that I can contact if I need to troubleshoot something because maybe somebody called my help desk and was asking for some help. and also to get out new information. Then there are staff account holders, and staff account holders can be anybody who's in a site account working with a user in AKCIS. And so those permissions are granted by somebody with one of those higher level credentials. So that's our two different kinds of views in AKCIS 360. In the junior plans, we do have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade plans. Now, if you happen to be working in a K-12 school and your school only has one school number, then if you're using single sign-on, your school is going to be coded to a high school level, but you're still going to have these 6th, 7th, and 8th grade plans. You can see down the left-hand side of that screen that we have activities like the CCI Quick Pick. That's the Career Cluster Inventory Quick Pick. With things I like to do, the particular activity that's on the screen at the moment is using my time for success. So thinking about those social emotional learning, think about those work importance skills, those employability skills as they go on. But each activity takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Of course, that'll vary with your reader's ability. But that gives the educator, that gives the person who's working with the user a little bit of an idea how long we should be on that, or if we're going to need a little bit extra assistance there. The activities are arranged by grade to try to prevent overlap. And we do make sure that those 3 questions are always being asked in the career plans so that we don't have, every teacher who learns about AKCIS, they go, yay, self-survey, and every teacher does the same self-survey. The students pick that up really quickly and they'll check out. And so we have different activities so we can bring that into the lessons in a language arts class, in a math class, in a social studies class, in a science class. I do have a district that starts at the 6th grade and does require a STEM careers report every school year all the way through 12th grade. And so they're looking at STEM careers, they're learning more about that, and they're writing their report, which is a deliverable and artifact that they would have to have anyway. But now they're putting it about something they're interested in their planning about a STEM career for themselves. In the high school level, in the high school site type, we have got the default plans on that left-hand side. School districts can customize their plan. So I do have a school district that has customized a plan for every grade 6 through 12. I have a smaller school district that makes a plan that is for all of the schools in the district. They've got the same activities across the board. And the itinerant counselors move from location to location. And each month, this couple of activities get done. The next month, this couple of activities. And by the end of the school year, that plan is done for every student in the district. And then next year, they get the next plan. And so by the time the students finish high school, they have worked on at least 4 years of plan and have a completed personal learning and career plan. I do want to mention that I do put out the transitions career plan here because counselors will ask me, Julia, I get this much time with my students. What's the bare bones of what I need to be working with? And that transitions career plan would be the barest. I would say if we're doing due diligence with our students in this area, that those activities in the transitions plans would be the ones to make sure. If you're only getting students in one time, make sure that they can find that transitions plan. That transitions plan was originally written for special needs students in mind. There's no special education language in that plan, but again, that's going to help them navigate the system and have a plan for when they transition. The newest plan is the work-based learning career plan. You can see that list there on the left. And that's only been out a couple of weeks. And the very first activity listed in that work-based learning career plan is a tracker, a work-based learning tracker, and it acts like a timesheet. And students can choose as they're recording their time for about 8 different kinds of work-based learning activities, from a co-op to a job shadow to a special speaker, whatever it might be, or an actual work activity. And they can record their times like a timesheet, reflections, notes, skills they learned while they're there. Then they can take that when it's a culmination of activity, and they can go add that into their resume builder in AKCIS. Again, these plans can be customized, but the ones that you've seen today on the screen, those are uploaded across the board for all of our high school site type users in the state of Alaska. The post-secondary and adult versions are very similar to each other. They have 4 career plans. Actually, they have a 5th one, which is WIOA, but there's Discover, Explore, Prepare, and Seek. And so our job centers will be using this version, our universities and our trade facilities will be using this site type. The Seek plan has just 2 activities in it, and basically it's write your resume and go find a job. So that's a very short plan. Under WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, they are required to use AKCIS with their grant. And so their grant administrators can come through AKCIS and monitor use. They can get the information out to their users, but they can also go through that specific prescribed list of activities that they have to be able to show towards their grant to be able to continue to receive funding in Alaska. My dashboard is the next thing that a student would see across, or a user would see across the top of their screen. And their dashboard is where everything they've saved goes. Now, usually this little piece right here would be the student's name. I was super duper creative that day and I named my student high school student. I know, super creative. But under the dashboard, they have 3 different kinds of saved work that they can look at. They can look at their favorites, and under their favorites, it's going to be their careers, their career clusters, their military careers they favorited, schools, programs of study, and scholarships they favorited. They can go under their self-survey results that they've saved. And in the junior version, there are 6 self-surveys. In high school, post-secondary, and adult workforce, there are 9 self-surveys. And so that would give a screen kind of capture of the results you'd be able to see on that screen of their last career cluster or their last self-survey that they completed. And then they can get to any of their other results from the little pencils in the corners where they could restore any results that they have there. Another one that they have is reports right here, and they can pull reports and report back to you instead of us just pulling our own reports on the back side of the system and shoving information out to our users and them go, oh, well, I don't think this means me. And they set it aside and we never get a response about the fabulous opportunities we've been sharing out. We can ask them to pull a report, ask them for specific things. They can make that report and send it to us. And when we see that work, by us, I mean you who are attending this session, counselors, teachers, administrators, grant administrators, career services officers, job center staff. When you see that, then you look at what their results are from their report and you say, oh, well, they're interested in this one and this one, and you give it to them. That puts that kind of it starts teaching that self-advocacy to that user. I'm going to know what to ask for. They asked me for this information. I gave it to them. Oh, that's how I'm going to get the kinds of things that I'm looking for. Another piece about the reports is that also in personal learning and career plans is our goal to increase self-accountability. And so when they look at the report and see that they have an activity that's not completed, then that they can see that and go, oh, I got to go complete that before I submit that report. So we're bringing those kind of workplace employability skills back in as we move throughout the system. In the self-surveys, this is the self-survey page for high school, and we've got the 9 self-surveys listed there. And the ones with a double asterisk out to the right of them, the entrepreneurial assessment, the occupation sort, and the workplace employability skills, those are not available for junior. But again, if your school is coded to a high school because you're K-12 or you're 6 or 7-12, whatever it might be, then you would still have those self-surveys even for that younger audience. The CCI Quick Pick is the newest self-survey, and it is very much like the Career Cluster Inventory, but it's shorter. It has a picture that demonstrates what the activity is. So the very first activity that shows up on both the CCI Quick Pick and the Career Cluster Inventory is go fishing. And so they're going to determine how much they like or don't like that activity. And so in the Quick Pick, there would be a picture of someone fishing next to that. Now, every one of these self-surveys is available in both English and Spanish, and throughout the system, you can toggle back and forth between English and Spanish. But every one of these self-surveys now also has little megaphones that for our visually impaired students, they would be able to have the instructions, or even our English language learners be able to have the instructions read to them, the activities read to them, and be able to have the results pages for each of these self-surveys read to them as well. Another idea for using self-surveys, a career cluster inventory, you could pull a report on that and find out what are the career clusters your students are interested in while you prepare for mock interview day. And you can see which career clusters, oh, I didn't have a community member for that section yet, or there's a lot of students interested in this career cluster. Maybe I need to find a couple of more community members to come in to do mock interviews. And then you can pull a report that just says, this is the name of the students who are interested in that particular cluster. And you can just line out the times for them. And your planning just really is, do I have a space? Is the space set up? Do I have the right speakers to talk to my students, right interviewers? Another one here is under the workplace employability skills. If your school, if your agency, whatever it might be, has an employability skills score that you need to be giving someone, whether it's by the week, by the month, quarter, whatever kind of period it might be, instead of that educator or that staff member going through and doing employability skills scores on every single user, you could have the user come in and take that workplace employability skills survey each time for whatever time frame, and then make a PDF of it, send it to you, and you could say, oh yeah, you scored yourself right on. That's exactly the score I would have given you. Or wait a minute, you made it look like the sun rises and sets on you. Let's have a little conversation about this area over here. Remember when this happened in class? Or, you know what, you scored yourself so harshly. Remember when this happened and you were able to help so-and-so? That's what this is talking about. You scored yourself too harshly. So it allows us to be able to have that deeper conversation, not spend all of our time doing that menial task of scoring. Users can take self-surveys more than once. They just can't retake a self-survey during the same login session. So they'd have to log out, log back in again. Another thing about those self-surveys is they are spaced out in all those career plans, but they do come back again because a user changes over time. I've heard some counselors in the past say, I don't care what they did before. I only care what they're doing today. Well, who the person was in the past is relative to who they are today. Is there a big change in the scores that they've got on these self-surveys? Are they staying about the same? If there was a big change, why was there a big change? Can we be forecasting that there would be another big change going forward? And that's just going to help our user get a little bit more in line. Now, when I go out and I'm talking to groups, I say, hey, who knows what they want to do later in life? And there'll be some people, a couple people raise their hand, and I'll ask them, they'll tell me specific job that they want to have. Then there's going to be some others who are like, I'm interested in this and this and this and this and this. Awesome. And then you're going to have people who kind of like don't want to make eye contact, and you say, is there anybody in here who doesn't have any idea what they want to do later in life? And they'll timidly raise their hand. They're all in the right place. Whether they know what they want to do, they got a whole bunch of ideas, or they just don't know what to do next. Self-surveys are going to make sure, is that thing they want to do still on their list? Awesome. What are the different pathways that we can go through AKCIS and search and research and find out which the best pathway to get to that career for myself? If they've got a bunch of ideas, let's narrow things down using self-survey so that we're not spreading ourselves too thin, but we're starting to focus on paths that might even bring those different ideas together for that user. And if they have no idea, this is going to give them a starting place as to where to start exploring and discovering. On the careers section, we've got over 650 careers listed. I know there's way more job titles than that, but if you boil it down, it looks about like 650 or so careers. And so if you think of something like administrative assistant, you might have executive secretary, you might have secretary, assistant, right? You got those different ones, and they could all boil up under administrative assistant. But maybe there are standard occupation codes that actually show and delineate definite changes or differences between wages. Under our wages sections, that would be lined out. It would tell specifically what a particular standard occupation code or SOC codes wages would look like around the nation, inside of Alaska, or in another state in any of the economic regions. But those 650 plus careers represent 95% of the US military and civilian careers. So we are encompassing it. We're always looking at emerging careers and adding those into the system as well. And emerging careers, they might be brand new. But they also might be a career that's changing. So if you think about astronaut, that's changing. We're going from where countries, governments hired astronauts and trained astronauts to now we're going to have private businesses who have astronauts and those who work on that equipment. Another one would be drones. That would be another area that would be emerging. So we're always keeping track of those kinds of things. But when I am talking to users in Alaska, I ask them, do you know what a community health aid practitioner is? A CHAP, CHAP. And some of the students in rural Alaska, they know what that is because that's a job they definitely see out there. A CHAP is somebody who works in an area while to get somebody to be stable before they can either be sent out for medical care or before medical care can come into them. And that job started in rural Alaska, was an emerging occupation for a while, and now is a national career. So we don't have to wait for things to happen in the lower 48. We can make things happen, and we already do make things happen right here in Alaska. So, and you can see some of the categories that we have for each of our careers. We do have brand new videos for each of the careers. The older videos, they were created the year I graduated from high school. They weren't that old, for heaven's sakes, but they are all updated. And all of the videos for our careers are constantly being added to as we pull them from Career One Stop. And as Career One Stop starts making them in Spanish, then those videos are coming over for us to have those in Spanish as well. Users can favorite their cluster. They can also do the same thing with careers when they're on those pages. But a new addition to this page, this is the health science career cluster. This would be for all career clusters, is the top 5 salaries in this cluster in Alaska and the top 5 employment opportunities for this career cluster in Alaska. So those are two new pieces to see. Those are hyperlinked, so it would take them right to the career. And then this section right here, this purple section, this would be where that would highlight if this user had just completed the CCI Quick Pick or the career cluster inventory, what is their interest level in this career cluster. So instead of us keeping the self-survey results off to the side, yes, we explained it to our user, but we keep it off to the side and they have to think about it while they're going through their research. We said, no, let's bring it in and put it on the pages. So as they're going through and exploring, they can see, was this one of the ones that was on my list? And they, oh, it was. Okay, let me look at this one some more. Oh, it wasn't. Okay, I might glance at it, but I'm going to go on to something else. But nothing in the system drops off just because somebody took a self-survey or just because somebody favorited something. It's all going to stay in the system because people change. They have different ideas of what's going on. They find something of interest as they're moving forward. The education section of AKCIS has over 5,000 schools and training facilities across the nation in there. 100 of those are Alaska specific. So here we have got the University of Alaska Anchorage page, and it has a custom picture of the consortium library, and it also has a virtual tour. So as you're working with your partners, maybe some of those partners are joining us on this call today, and your school or training facility is listed in AKCIS, you could have a custom picture and a video from your campus displayed in AKCIS for free. We're not going to charge you for that, but so that all of our users, remember, I've already had 10,000 logs in so far, where school's only been in session a month. It's only going to ramp up from there. You can have your customized views right there, so users can see what it's like to be at your facility. I am the right person. My contact information will show up at the end of this presentation. But when we've gone through here and we've made this 360 version of AKCIS, every time we can put a piece of information in a visual context, we have done that. So instead of this being a table of just information, numbers, words, we have made a visual representation. In the education section, we also have over 650 programs of study and which schools and training facilities offer those. We also have over 3,000 scholarships and grants, and about 800 of those are specific to Alaska. So again, if you are a scholarship administrator or your organization has a list of scholarships and you don't find them in AKCIS for some reason, you could send those to me. I can have those put in so that your users would be able to save those, hit the links, apply, be able to search through the scholarships to find scholarships that mean something to them. We also have a couple of new features around apprenticeships. And so 250 of the AKCIS careers are directly linked to the U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeships page. And then we have the apprenticeships, the U.S. apprenticeships link separately on our education page so that users can go out and just look at what kind of things are we thinking about when we're looking at apprenticeships. So it's a nice piece of information to be able to add in. And when I have some more Alaska specific information for apprenticeships, I add that in as well. So we've got some organizations like ACAC under the Primary Care Associates and Alaska Works. Those both have apprenticeship possibilities, partners, those kinds of things for youth and for older job seekers and such as well. The employment page of AKCIS has got several tabs here. You can see that it's been customized to Alaska. Across the top, we've got our resume builder. Everything that any of our users have created in a resume in the past in AKCIS has all been moved forward, just like the rest of the results in AKCIS have all moved forward. The job interviews tab that's right here currently has 4 videos, very well put together. The 5th one is coming out of production very soon, and there will be a 6th video, but it walks through that process of preparing, practicing, having an interview, following up after interview, accepting the job, and so forth. And I was a career services director at the collegiate level for a couple of decades. And that's the kind of stuff I talk to my graduates about all the time. And so here you've got it to where they can go watch the video, and then you can have that more in-depth conversation with your new grad or your fresh job seeker about what is their tick, what is their thing that's going to keep them motivated and going on this search. I've included a couple of other links here, like the AlaskaNativeHire.com that comes to us from Alaska's First Peoples and is vetted by staff at the Cook Inlet Tribal Council. But it's any Native affiliation inside or outside of Alaska. So where it could be Athabascan here in Alaska, it could also very much be Choctaw from Oklahoma. The Alaska Safety Alliance is a very strong partner with ACPE, and they have their partners and their partner subsidiaries and the positions that they have posted at any one time linked right there for us. I know that they keep their page vetted. Also Workplace Alaska when you're looking for a state of Alaska position, and the Alaska Job Center Network. And we've got a project to have some different pages added, different links added for different age groups, but currently it's the Job Center Network, so they can get out and make their profile over there as well. The course planner is rolled out to every 6th through 12th grade public school student in the state of Alaska. And so you won't see this, this particular module in a post-secondary. You won't see this in adult workforce. You also won't see this planner in any of the private schools until you specifically talk with me and we have it all created and put in for you. But I have it out there for all of our public school students because of the Alaska Performance Scholarship. And there will be some modifications coming to this soon. soon. You just heard a couple of sessions about the Alaska Performance Scholarship, and there's more information coming out about that. But the student could pick that pathway, or perhaps your district's course list gets loaded into the course planner like Sitka does in this particular example. Sitka School District's course planner is added here, and they have chosen a pathway, but you might have a specific pathway. Maybe it's your graduation pathway. Maybe it's your current technical education pathway. And students can choose their courses from their course list. I have rolled out a very basic list of courses so students can keep track and kind of plan for where it is that they are along their work, at least with regard to the Alaska Performance Scholarship, because we always want them to know how far along they are and what they need to do to prepare for that. Now, for students and users to log in, they're going to come into a couple of different areas, but it's very easy to just look at my page and see the blue login box. But students who are using Clever in their school district, they're going to go into their Clever app gallery, and they're going to find the AKCIS 360 icon. They're going to click on that, and just because they logged in on their school district computer with their school district credentials, when they click that icon, they're automatically in their AKCIS 360 portfolio. AKCIS and Clever, the combination, will already take care of creating all of the student accounts, promoting students from grade to grade, and hiding those students who have graduated or moved on to another location that a student information system hasn't picked them up yet, and also transferring them between schools within a district and between schools across the state. So Clever is taking that off our hands. So as far as counselors and teachers who did prep work at the beginning of the school years, getting these things ready to go, it's already created. Students just have to log in, and it takes that time, that time that you used to take to make sure every student knew their username and every student knew their password. It takes that off the table. We don't have to mess with that. Just because they could get in their computer in the first place, they can get into AKCIS through Clever. For staff, if you have a staff account, not an administrator or a district account, but if you have a staff account in AKCIS and you're using Clever in your school district, there would be a separate icon for AKCIS 360 staff, and you could sync your account there as well. So you could very quickly get in during class, check your students' work, see what kind of responses they've had. Did they complete the self-surveys? Do you have somebody who's a little bit behind in a career plan, that kind of thing. And ClassLink is our newest version of single sign-on for students. So I've got about 5 school districts that are already loaded for ClassLink. They're just in there moving around like gangbusters. So they would go in perhaps through their Launchpad and then click on ClassLink, and that would then allow them to find the AKCIS 360 icon that was added to their grouping. And again, that's going to take care of all those new student portfolios. That's going to promote the students by grade. It's going to hide portfolios of students who are no longer at your school, transfer them in and out of district. But it also, it's being tested in another state right now. Alaska is going to get it next. Our programmers know that we are just chomping at the bit to get our hands on it. That very last bullet on the left, if we're using ClassLink for single sign-on, we're going to be able to populate the district's course list into the course planner, and students will be able to select the actual class name for classes they have completed or want to take at your particular school. So really excited about that coming out. That's going to be something in the next month or so that we will have access to, but I wanted to bring that up and let you know that's a possibility. Administrators and staff, when you're logging in, if you do not have Clever or ClassLink to get in, you're going to come out to AKCIS 360. That is this picture up here at the top. With the blue login box, any credentials that are put in this blue login box will log the user in as a user. So you'll see the student side, you'll see the job seeker side of AKCIS. for whatever version your credentials are attached to. In order for you to be able to see the back side, you're going to come down here. I've got these 4 audiences across the middle. You're going to come to the administrator's audience, and you're going to have a red login box. And so that's where you would put your username and password for any administrator accounts, any district level accounts, any staff accounts would come in here. And that would allow you to see what your users have been working on. I do have a series of quick starts available for those who are staff and admin, but I wanted to show you while I'm on this page that under the student audience, there are a list of quick starts. That's screenshots numbered with the worded instructions next to them, all of the common activities in AKCIS. So if you have a Canvas classroom assignment, if you have got a Google Classroom assignment, and you're using AKCIS as the activity that they're going to do, you could take the links from those quick starts and you could include those in your assignment, and students would have the instructions right there with them. They also, in those Google Classroom and those Canvas assignments, when the student has completed something, there's always going to be a button that says export PDF, and they could pull that document right out and attach that in your online assignment as well. But for administrators, you are going to come to this administrator's audience and log in from the red login box. You have seen this slide probably already from a presenter or two this morning, but just to remind you that we are providing sustainable solutions for college and career and technical training in the state of Alaska and for our Alaskans. And we focused right now, this session was on AKCIS 360 and creating personal learning and career plans, PLCPs, and we thank ACPE for sponsoring, and we have a couple of partner sponsors as well, and so we appreciate that they make sure that AKCIS is available to everyone. This is my contact information, and so you can get to me and ask me any kind of questions that you want to ask, but we have a couple minutes left here too. So Dominica, have you seen any questions come in the chat, or does anybody want to put some questions in the chat?
Thank you so much, Julia. I haven't seen any questions. I have, however, shared the links that you provided.
Excellent, excellent. If you didn't catch the links, I don't have the chat open right now, so I can't see it on my screen at the moment. If you need them reposted, please make sure Dominica knows that so she can repost them one more time. I did include in the links the parent guide. So if you are working at a 612 level, that parent guide explains what is a personal learning and career plan and why would I be involved in that with my student? How can I be involved in that with my student? It also will give you important dates down the side about things seniors would be looking at, important dates. Also that alphabet soup, acronyms, what do they mean? And then activities broken out 7th through 9th grade, 10th and 11th grade, and 12th graders on the back page of that parent guide. And then we do have the brand new AKCIS 360 brochure, which comes from our publications page. And if you haven't been out to our publications page, please do visit our Success Center page, and then publications is right in the center, and you can order publications. We'll mail them out to your facility, or you can download them and you can print at your particular facility as well.
Thank you so much, Julia. So to restate, if individuals are requesting materials, in particular AKCIS 360 brochure, they should reach out to you directly.
They sure can. They sure can. If they're trying to be real slick on this fly, they can download it and print it themselves. You're going to want to fold it because it is a bifold brochure. It's going to look a little funny when it's all out on the page, like why is the back page first? But that's because they fold. But yes, please contact me for any of those, any kind of materials that are around AKCIS. I can for sure get those ready and send them out to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Julia. And Julia will be joining us again on Thursday for a more detailed overview of education and financial aid resources within AKCIS 360. So please don't miss that session at 11:25 a.m. on Thursday, this Thursday.
That's right. I'll be there. I'll see you there too.
You will. Thank you, Julia. If we don't have any other questions, you're letting us go a little early. That's okay. We'll take it. And thank you for your time and your expertise and everything that you do for Alaskans across the state with this amazing resource provided for free.
Thanks, everybody. If
Thank you.
are wanting access, if you don't already have access, you don't know how to get to AKCIS and have access to it, contact me. Let me know.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Julia. Have a good day. Bye-bye.